Isolation Nation out there, and welcome to episode 27 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. I'm joined by my usual co-hosts in the screens around me. I've got, once again, up, down, left or right or below, X circle, X, what was the code? What's the Konami code?
Wow.
Up, down, left, right. What is it? You know, I've got Richie somewhere down there. Or around.
Richie's down here.
Richie, give us a wave. Give us a wave. There he is. If you're watching on video, second episode over on YouTube. And over in one of the other corners, whichever way you may be, we've got Mr. Tom once again.
He's over there for me.
Yeah.
The guy in the purple cube.
Yeah.
The purple cube. I can't
Trapped
get out.
in the purple cube.
I'm trapped in a box. I'm trapped in a box.
Are we all just trapped in a box right now, though, Tom?
I've just got you out of the purple box the other week.
It's a bit
Just
meta.
kind of portal shit going on. But yes, welcome to episode 27 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. You're joining us this week from lockdown in our homes. Not that any podcast we do would come from anywhere else. We don't own a studio, but welcome. Thank you for everyone who did tune in last week on the YouTube channel and still download our podcast on podcasting platforms. We saw a massive spike in viewership, which clearly tells us that you weren't put off by seeing our faces. So thank you very much. Thank you for returning again this week. We've got a cracking week of Stadia news. We had the Google Developers Summit at the beginning of the week, which we've also got a reaction to that live over on our YouTube channel too. Is Untitled Goose Game coming to Stadia? We don't know. Richie, you think it is? You spotted it.
Yeah, I mean, it could just be going in with the meme, but you never know. You never know.
We'll see. We will see. But to start off with, we wanted to add a quick little new segment in. We've not made any mistakes so far in this podcast up till episode 27.
My bad.
We've had penciling for a time. But in one of our previous videos, our techie teacher, Tom, believe it or not, he did the worst thing that you could possibly do on the internet. He made a mistake.
Yeah.
Did people call him out for it? Yes, they did. So, Richie, we're going to throw it over to you for the triple R, which is Richie's retcon ritual.
Okay.
Take it away, Richard. What are we talking about this week?
Someone called Bracari Foods on the YouTube comments called Tom out regarding the Stadia GPU. And this is going to be words I'm about to say. Tom can explain it when I'm done. So the GPU in Stadia is 2 AMD generations behind the PS5 and the Xbox One X, Series X. I've already made a mistake in the mistake section. There we go.
We'll fix that next week, Rich. Don't worry.
So its RDNA 2 is 2 times as efficient as a GCN architectures. So I think it's RDNA 2 is with the next generation of consoles, the PS5, Xbox Series X. Got it right this time. And the GCN is the Stadia. So, Tom, would you like to explain what that means?
Yeah, it's really simple. It's just like buying a 66 reg compared to a 68 reg or a 69 reg. You know, you're looking at essentially two models prior to it. So whenever a car manufacturer, whenever any manufacturer releases a new generation of a vehicle, of a product, whatever it is, it just means that the specs are only as good as the components that existed at the time. So yeah, I hold my hands up and I say, look, I am going to make mistakes. I'll do the best to my knowledge right here. And I do appreciate being called out on it because, again, it helps me upskill in that sense too. So by all means, anything that I do say, you just let me know. So just to confirm once again, the PS5 and Xbox Series X will be running on the RDNA 2 specification, which was preceded by RDNA, and preceding that was GCN, which Stadia, PS4, and Xbox One currently run up. So 2 generations of architecture from a graphics perspective behind at present. So looking back on it, yeah, the graphics capability of the 5 and the Xbox Series X do supersede Stadia based on the architecture alone. It will have implications down the line, but once again, we've spoken about one of the benefits of Stadia is its ability to be able to easily improve on the fly.
On the fly.
Yep. Okay. That made no sense to me. I'm assuming it didn't make any sense to Chris.
Well, I was thinking, Richie, that when you use the analogy of vehicle, Tom, which put it in very layman's terms for me, I do appreciate that because IQ Richie, straight over the head. That could also be similar said for the Google Pixel phone, which runs Stadia, Richard, because we didn't add it into the dock, but I know you are the proud owner now of upgrading.
This?
Yes.
Pixel 4 XL.
treat yourself to a new phone. So unlike
did.
the Pixel 2 and the Pixel 3, you've upgraded and moved your, was it Tom, RDNA software? I'm sure it doesn't have that under the hood,
Yeah.
but
My phone's DNA is now better than my old one.
there we go.
It was time for an upgrade for me anyway, and my phone had some damage, so I trapped myself.
And you've obviously played Stadia on your phone?
I did, actually, because I only got it, I think it might have been Friday it got delivered. So this morning I was sat there playing The Division 2 on my phone in 4K, and it was beautiful and smooth as you like.
Brilliant.
Smooth as you like.
Speaking of deliveries, sorry.
I was going to say smooth.
No, don't you worry about
Tom,
that. I'll steal that one. I've noticed in the community a lot lately, a lot of people seem to be picking up, getting into the Stadia system as well now, particularly under the current isolation and lockdown. A lot of people are turning to picking up Stadia and getting involved in it. I've seen a lot of posts in social media, over on Reddit as well, and certainly with some of our friends too have now picked up and gotten involved in it. So it's a good time to get involved if you are considering jumping over and getting onto this ship, even though you shouldn't be getting on any cruise ships whatsoever. But it's definitely something that I've noticed in the community. So watch this space.
Yeah.
Watch this space.
And if you just notice a change in my lighting, it's my key light just ran out of battery.
Oh, that's all right.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Dark times, Richard, dark times.
We're still in the Recon ritual, so it's fine for things to be messed up here.
Yeah, everything can
Yeah.
go to shit in this area because we can just correct ourselves on the fly. As we
This
did
is the
things
area
wrong.
for correcting ourselves.
Exactly.
Anyway, there was one more thing
correcting
I was
yourself.
wrong about. I've been predicting for a little while on this podcast that Doom 2016 would be the pro game for April, pretty much immediately after Doom Eternal came out, and it wasn't. But we will go into what your next month's pro games are in, Tom.
Ooh, the super sexy special Stadia story segment, aka stolen from Chris. The news.
The news.
We're really messing this one up this week, but hey,
News.
We're just coming at you live. Whatever.
Coming at you live.
Yeah.
So big week this week. It seemed to definitely front end the week. I think the news, we got tons, as you can imagine, out of the Google keynote speech that came out on Monday. We did react to it live, but I think now we've had a bit more time to digest it, watch a few more of the videos. I know we only tuned in specifically for the Games Summit video, but there was a lot more that was kind of rolled out tapas style, a la carte, for people to just tune into and digest. Funnily enough, we did pick this up on the day, but they opted to show all the videos at the same time.
Yeah,
which was a bit
It was a bit annoying.
because you kind of would watch them all flow in a smooth show, and instead they just went, "Yep, they're all out there to watch. Here's the links." Which I suppose for the internet it works. I know it was aimed at developers, so if there was a lot of parts that weren't necessarily aimed at you, you could tune into the relevant bits, as we did. But in terms of that, we got some huge news out last week. The biggest story of which was developers Splash Damage. They're working on a Stadia exclusive, gentlemen.
Yes.
Another string to the bow we've got there. So Splash Damage in particular, their keynote games are, they've worked on Gears of War 4, they've worked on Gears of War the Ultimate Edition, which I think was the remaster, Batman Arkham Origins, which is a very underrated Batman game, and it should be classed as part of the whole Arkham collection, even though Rocksteady and Warner Brothers seem to snub it. And
Wasn't it a different developer?
It was WB Montreal who produced that
Yeah.
one, who are teasing the hell out of whatever the new Batman game is, but they just won't tell us.
Nope.
They're happy to tease Court of Owls and all this other stuff, but yeah, apparently Rocksteady are working on their own thing, rumoured, and WB Montreal once again is stepping into the Batman fold. Probably with bated breath, since, as I mentioned, Origins has got some of the best fight scenes in all the Batman Arkham games, and yeah, it just seems to be missed out on all collections, all remasters. They just do not acknowledge it, even though it's legit part of the same story arc, which is annoying for me. But in terms of the games list we've got there, massive quality, and we've got that coming to Stadia again. Second party, I presume we would class this as.
Yeah.
Second party exclusive.
But I think
yeah,
this
they announced
is,
that.
This is since Guild by Tequila Works, and we've had some small indie titles now. I think this could possibly be one of the first non-Stadia developed, when we're talking about like Stadia games and entertainment, titles that we could probably put in the AA category, perhaps.
I have no idea. Until we know what the game is, it could be indie. It could be all between indie all the way up to AAA.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the names that they've got beneath their belt, really, and
Well,
I'd probably put it in AAA.
Gears and Batman. I'd say AAA.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, there seem to be almost like a subsidiary studio, a bit like Bluepoint. They tend to pick up projects and help out with existing IP rather than their own. So my guess is this could either be, I don't want to say make or break, but the funding that we would imagine that Google are going to hand over to them, that war chest of money, and just, you'd imagine it's going to be, if it's exclusive, Stadia are probably going to own the IP rights to the franchise. Splash Damage are going to hopefully use this as a massive platform, as we've seen with other developers, and really just make it their own. And this could be it for them. This could send them into the stratosphere of making huge AAA titles.
Well, that's it. We've seen other third-party developers like team up with like Xbox and Sony for one-off exclusive titles and then that developers then become synonymous with the console.
Yeah, it can happen. A good one that kind of doesn't really work with what you said there, Richie, but a good example I was thinking of was Insomniac. They made Sunset Overdrive for Xbox, which was a massively well-received title. Didn't sell that well, but then they flipped over, made Spider-Man for Sony, and now they obviously owned by Sony as well. So they used that as a franchise IP to really drive it, and now they are.
I think that
expected to do that.
Match up with what I said, as you mentioned. Sunset was on the Xbox, but it didn't really get the attention it probably deserved. But when they did some work with Sony on Spider-Man, that is what thrust them in the limelight, really. They've done other stuff in the past. Did they do Spyro back in the day?
Insomniac. Yeah.
So they already had that links to Sony.
Yeah, that's it. You build those relationships and they almost become first party just through association. I think Remedy is a funny one at the moment. They did a Quantum Break exclusive for Xbox also. And then their recent game Control, which was last year's IGN Game of the Year award, they've just signed a deal with Epic. I don't think it's in our news stuff, but I did read this week they've just signed a multiple game deal with Epic to, I think, make 2 AAA titles, I think it was.
They have. Yeah, it is 2 titles.
So it's almost like we've seen it a lot over the last year or so, but trying to lock down those exclusive deals. Microsoft bought up, about 5 or 6 companies last year, just to flesh out their own portfolio, because clearly PlayStation got on to sell 104 plus million consoles. The proof is that you need those exclusive titles to drive.
That was one of the major criticisms as the generation went on with Xbox after the budge start, that they just didn't have them first party titles, them exclusives. So it was like, why would I go to you? It was really when with the Xbox One X that they started making some proper headway, because then now they could boast by having the most powerful console.
Yeah.
That's what they want to do.
Yeah, but I think these type of relationships, it's not financially viable, I don't think, to have everything in-house. And I think outsourcing to other games companies is huge, because you almost have that mutual agreement of, we'll front some of the cash, we'll front the team that's going to create it, and something hopefully will flourish and come out of that. We have seen it work. Another good example, just off the top of my head, was the team that Quantum Break, who made Detroit Become Human. So that, and they've done, before that was Heavy Rain, and what's the Beyond Two Good and Evil?
Beyond Two Souls.
Two Souls, sorry, not Good and Evil. Those type of relationships really help flesh that catalogue, where Sony didn't necessarily have an exclusive title of their own, but to drop that into the calendar year in a quiet period for your own studios, it helped almost tick over sales of people talking about this game that's exclusive to that. So just think in a few years' time, interstitially put in there between whatever the, what's it called? Stood Still.
Shannon Stood Still.
Her studio obviously has a game out in a few years, and then in between that we have this possible one from Splash Damage Games, and then you can imagine there's going to be more deals like this going to trickle out over the next year or so. So gradually we're building up this portfolio of Stadia exclusive titles, hopefully teamed up with the third-party ones that are also going to come, the likes of Assassin's Creed and other Ubisoft ones and such. And I think it's just a really good story to come out of this, that they are still out there willingly brokering these deals to bring Stadia some more exclusives, because we need them.
We've talked about them opening their own first-party studios, and as a proof that Google are in this for the long haul, at least got like a 5-year vision of this. This is another example of that. They're clearly funding a game from a third-party developer.
Yeah.
Or at least partially funding it enough that they will get exclusivity on it.
And an interesting
this is not going away.
An interesting takeaway as well from the videos they uploaded as part of the Google for Games Developer Summit as well was the discussion of the postmortem for Destiny 2, and talking about how, in reality, from the developers at Bungie seeing Stadia and getting it released. It took them 6 months to go through the whole process of getting it from its origin to the Stadia platform. So really, with all these games that we've got that are coming out, these new games that are in development, we've also got countless numbers of games behind the scenes that are going through this potentially 6-month process that are currently getting certified, getting remade, ready for the Stadia platform. So when we say 120 games that are currently being tracked, we've got some already, but now we're actually probably going to see a lot of announcements for new titles to the Stadia platform, not new per se, but they've got to be on the horizon at some point very soon.
Yeah, I don't think we'll hear anything from Splash Damage's game till at least next year.
No.
Even what sort of game it is. This is, okay, we're working on something. We're going to go quiet for probably a year or two.
Yeah. I always think a lot of studios like this, they always have a couple of ideas, like smaller teams working on whatever the next thing is. We can't be fooled into thinking that they genuinely wrap up on one game and they've got nothing lined up, so they all just gather in a room and go, right, what should our next idea be? And they go from there, start from the drawing board. A lot of these teams break off into smaller units, especially story writers. When their job is done, they can move on to the next thing while they hand it over to the creative team.
Yeah, in software development, we've got like different types of software development methodologies. And we have different processes where you've got like cycles going, and each project is moving through a cycle at once. So they will have concepts, they will have ideas that are already being churned out at this point.
And and we've got to remember they'll have had to go to the Google Stadia team at some point and petition for some.
Yeah, they got to pitch
some creative. They've got to go in there. Tails between the legs and just hope that whatever they say lands with the people who are in control of the money and basically win their tick and money.
The thing is, in the creative medium, you don't know when inspiration is going to strike. You might be halfway through an intense project and you come up with an idea. You might just jot it down on a notepad and then, okay, wrapping up. Okay, here's a few ideas I can start fleshing out.
Yeah,
start pitching.
So speaking of ideas, then, what would you two gentlemen like to see from this Splash Damage team? So knowing their heritage is with the likes of Gears of War and Batman, so third-person style action adventure games, what I'd imagine they're going to follow in that. You think? Why deviate to something that
very
you're not
dark and gritty titles in a way, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd like to see probably an original IP or an application of an IP that we haven't really had in games. I'm not sure what that would be, but it looks like it's going to be a third-person action game just based on their track record.
Yeah.
And
that's a given.
I'm okay with that. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I don't see them developing a new engine for anything in particular, just utilizing what they know and do well. So yeah, I'm completely on board with that there.
I'd like to see them stay away from like the military shooter genre. As much as I'm enjoying the Division, we've got things like Call of Duty's first person, but there's a lot of military shooters, and there's much more you can do in that space.
I'd like to see an interesting concept come out of perhaps you play the role of a superhero type character, but again, you have this sort of like good and evil sort of struggle in the in
Infamous.
Yeah, essentially like Infamous. But actually, to be fair, something like Infamous could work very well using that dark and gritty sort of platform. You just name and shame. Just name and shame me today. It's just
I'll begin with that. Something like it with a bit of their own style on this.
So I'm trying to think what I would like. So I've just finished playing Uncharted 3. Went back to it. I got a little inkling for it, and I've started Uncharted 4 again just because. It's what you do with all this downtime that we've got isolated away. I wanted to just play some like pulp action story, and taking that third person kind of mechanic that they're so well known for. I would love to see an action adventure game in the vein of Uncharted, where it's like you're generally going on an exploration or you're uncovering secrets or something, but almost like Grand Theft Auto style with a team of 3. So with Grand Theft Auto, you could jump between different protagonists 3 times. So similar Uncharted mechanics, but maybe as a team of 3, whether that's 2 AI and 1 single player, myself and you two gentlemen, or any of the other Stadia players out there, all with like different roles. So one's your butch heavy guy who's got it lifting things, one's your like sprightly action adventure one. Mix it up, whatever the team may be. Actually, we talked about it playing the Division this week. I mentioned playing Conflict Desert Storm with my brother way back when, where you had your 4 different classes. You had your medic, you had your sniper, you had your heavy lifter guy, and you had your commander, your captain. something like that, just to take the third person thing, but mix it up by having different characters to jump into. That's just off the top of my head. That's how my brain went to something like that.
I like that. Right, it's probably because we've just been playing The Division the other night.
Yeah,
but I like that idea, and it'd be interesting for when you're playing on your own how Google's machine learning stuff would make the AI. So if you always have 3 party members, whether you're on your own or with players,
well, once again,
how would the AI compensate?
I would direct you guys to have a look at the research and development project video if you haven't had a chance to check that one out. That was quite interesting. I thought quite interesting. Yeah. So. Little bit of insight into the AI and essentially again what Stadia can do from a computing perspective using Google servers.
It was actually that video that gave me that inspiration.
Yeah,
I watched it this morning, and bear in mind this is GDC. These talks are aimed at the developers, so Google are put a specific keynote for developers regarding this AI sort of stuff.
I do think involving the AI into the game is going to be very interesting. And I think a lot of developers haven't really fully grasped. I mean, they're probably doing it behind the scenes at the moment, but they haven't grasped the power of what that can do within their games and how immersive that could make gameplay or just generally change the scope of what we're used to so far. But I think looking at DeepMind and the deep learning algorithms could be massive for the next step in video games.
Yeah, it's a tool I think a lot of developers have never had before. Yeah. And until they start working with it and start coming up with crazy ideas of how this could be implemented in games, we don't know what it can do. Mm-hmm. I hope this could be the first one.
What, my game or?
A combination of yours? Why don't we combine your and Tom's games together? It's an Infamous style a co-op action game.
Where you control an army of superheroes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, to be fair, we haven't seen what the Avengers looks like. It was delayed and pushed back. That might do something very similar because should we be playing that about now? I'm sure it was
May. Games we were meant to be playing about now,
wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. On the horizon, but still just too far away. But interesting story to come out of the GDC conference information pack as well. We clocked it straight away on our live stream was the sheer amount of logos that went up on the screen. So if you're not aware, there was some new developer kind of theories and stories that came out. Our friend Dan over on Stadia Source picked it up. And basically, they teased a hell of a lot of random stuff on that video stream we watched. I think as we were watching through it as a 3, we said multiple times why they're referencing that game. They had games that weren't even on the Stadia platform. They were the competition, the competitors. They had Fortnite up there and a bunch of other stuff. And it does nothing but pique our interest, I think, with thinking, why would you put something officially from a competitor or someone we've not got a partnership with up onto a big, essentially digital stage presence and show it off? So just looking at some of the lists that Stadia aren't currently in tandem with, shout them out if you see them, gentlemen. But I think WB Games was one of the ones I clocked straight away. Yep. Obviously, Splash Damage, they announced that. CD Projekt Red, we know, is coming with Cyberpunk 2077. What else dropped in there that we didn't clock? Konami's in there.
Konami, Sega. I mean, we've heard rusings about Sega, but we haven't had anything yet.
We have. We've got Football Manager. That's a Sega game.
Is it now?
That is very true.
This is how much I do not care.
Still a Sega game. Crystal Dynamics. I know we've got the first two Tomb Raiders that were Crystal Dynamics, but the third one wasn't.
Yeah, that was a Montreal team again. I think doing some good work up in Montreal. THQ Nordic, give me that Time Splitters remake that I've been crying out for.
There's a lot of these I don't even recognise, to be honest. I might recognise the game they've published.
I mean, THQ Nordic was Darksiders Genesis, so there is.
Oh yes, of course, yeah. But THQ Nordic practically own everything that's not a AAA title now. They're just buying up IP like it's going out of business.
Yeah, after THQ went under and THQ Nordic rose as like a Phoenix company, they just started buying everything.
I'm just gonna point it out again. EA is still there. EA is still on that list. They haven't gone anywhere, but they also haven't committed yet either. But they're still there.
Like, we're working with them. But on what?
They are waiting for their moment. They're waiting for the opportune moment.
It has to be FIFA, right? The sports FIFA and the rest of the sports games in line for this summer.
I would, but again, I would buy Jedi Fallen Order in a heartbeat if they released it on Stadia, because
I would too.
On
Was
current...
that exclusive to PlayStation or was it Xbox as well?
No, it wasn't exclusive.
All right.
No.
Fallen Order, yeah, it was just anywhere PC
anywhere.
as well.
Yeah, it's all over the place. But I mean, current gen, it performed great. You could play the game, but there were moments in that game where you know that it would be better on Stadia. Absolute critical moments. Yeah, frame rate drops, things not loading in properly. Just yeah.
Well, we know from the bringing Destiny to Stadia talk that it took the Destiny team about 6 months to get all the work done, and that was with a lot of hands-on, excessive work from the Google team beyond normal developer relationships. Because they did say in it that they've reverted to a normal relationship since.
Yeah.
So we're looking probably, I reckon, 6 months to a year probably of getting the game ported across. It depends on the architecture it's running on, because I think it was the engine wasn't compatible with Stadia 100% for Destiny, so they had to do a lot of work to get that.
Absolutely.
So it could be a lot of the things like the EA games. To be honest, I think EA is probably just waiting for the user base to increase.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think it is as well.
Yeah, there's definitely some other interesting ones that are up on there. For me, what I would associate more with PlayStation, so Supermassive Games, they're the ones who did Until Dawn. If you've played that, the horror game on PlayStation, that was an exclusive. So there, again, that kind of double A, second party company is what I'm trying to say. Getting my double, but for the 2A instead mixed up. Until Dawn, was the second party company. So clearly, this is almost the problem with a second party relationship is they're allowed to go elsewhere. They're not locked down to your particular platform. Another one was Camouflage. So I believe they're a French team who are currently working on the Iron Man exclusive VR for PlayStation.
Yeah.
Stadia doesn't do VR, so obviously doesn't
VR
limit them to VR, but it's an interesting one to throw up there. IO Interactive, they did Hitman. Or they now own Hitman once they had their separation from
Square Enix. Yeah.
Oh, Hitman would be interesting on Stadia.
Yes, it would. Absolutely.
All the combinations.
Yeah, that's it. And it uses a heavy use of AI.
I noticed we've also got Game Atelier on there as well, which are they're a big Japanese game developer. Well, they produce a lot of games like similar to like Animal Crossing, where you have to or Stardew Valley is probably a better way of describing it. You have like RPG town and you play a character and you have to build your farm and go into the mines and stuff like that.
Sim management.
Yeah, sort of that sort of thing with RPG elements as well.
Yeah, the new Animal Crossing is meant to be doing absolutely amazing for Switch.
Yeah.
So there is definitely a market for them games.
Oh yeah, it's the more I think a lot of people find them quite cathartic. So I think in this current scenario, I think people just want to delve into a world and switch off and manage something. I think something about management brain can just switch off and just focus on gathering resources, stockpiling, such making trade deals. It's just such a simplistic way of killing hours and hours of time.
Can confirm.
If you think about the casual game market, those who would use their phone to gaming, if you can get decent on-screen touch controls for a game like that, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I think the transition from mobile gaming, I think, lends itself well to Animal Crossing, because a lot of mobile games now, you have to, do you buy something or you acquire something, and then there's always that timer of you need to come back in 5 hours to collect more, and it does kind of eat your time, but it's your brain's almost like conditioned to think that's how the mechanics of the game work.
I mean, you could have a normal style game without having to resort to mobile gaming mechanics on Stadia on your phone, because if it's just a board game, you go into the store, you buy your game. This is optimized for mobile play.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw something out there for you, gents. Just again, having a look through that list, there are a few developers on there who currently exclusively only develop VR games. Exclusively.
Okay.
Now, again, we know one of the benefits of Stadia, mobile device, right? And we know Google have done Google Cardboard before.
Daydream.
Daydream as well. Now, really, why not? We could essentially see a nice stem into the world of VR to make it much more accessible at home with your phones as your essentially headsets with the gyro movements and so on. And you've just got controller in hand. Just got controller in hand as well.
Makes sense. If there's a couple of these working VR exclusives for Stadia or porting VR games, maybe in the next year, after maybe that might be the next big thing after Stadia Base, Stadia VR.
Perhaps.
Well, the biggest thing we've found with VR so far, the limitations of the software have been that you have to put everything that's like, especially the quality of the display, it has to be that sharp and detailed, but it's putting it onto your face.
Yeah.
And the weight and the wire requirements and the connection. So, like the PlayStation VR, for example, you need an entirely separate, I think it's a processor box that hooks up to your PlayStation to then give it that extra kick of energy it needs to do all the virtual reality stuff. And in and amongst all your ones, but you're right there, Tom. You obviously your controller syncs up to your Wi-Fi, so that's a separate entity. All the commands are going through a separate channel. And Richie, for example, you've just got your new Pixel XL phone. The great thing with Stadia is it shouldn't overrun the processor on that phone at all, because I know a lot of the Daydream, the Cardboard, and Samsung VR that I've tested out, the phone gets bloody hot after like 3-4 minutes of gameplay, which then causes the game to crash, to freeze. The phone shuts down. We've all no doubt used our phones on holiday in the summer, and you try and take a bloody photograph and it says your phone's overheating because the camera's too hot. Shuts it down.
The phone doesn't have the right sort of cooling. It doesn't have
not at all. It's a tiny compact device.
There's a reason like proper hardcore gaming towers are massive. Gives more airflow.
So interesting find there, Tom. Yeah. So not only have we created our own game on this podcast, we've also discovered that Stadia VR is potentially a very high chance, and we've corrected you and Richie for doing stuff wrong.
Sounds like a successful episode so far. What's in store next, Chris?
Well, with it being the tipping point into the month of April, we've got our pro games. They were announced. That feeds it back into how we know Richie was wrong. We had our April Pro games were midweek, and we're getting 3 games this time. Not 1, not 2, but 3. Again, we touched on this last week. Are they conditioning us to just expect more and more week on week?
Sorry,
if I don't get 5 games in July, I'm going to be pissed.
Chris can't speak because he's salivating so much for all of the games that
It's
he's
so
getting.
good.
I want to put a prediction. I think it's not about the number of games. I think it's about probably the value of the games. Because in previous months, we've had a AAA title and an indie game. I know Serious Sam is one of them and would be technically a AAA title. But is it really? No. It's more in the AA category for me.
It's not a AAA. It's never been a AAA.
Remember when we learned about Serious Sam back when we did our live podcast? I'd never heard of this game prior, whereas I guarantee you run any actual AAA title past me and I've probably heard of it at some point, if not played it. So yes, so our 3 games we got, or more I suppose, 5 games.
Technically more, because it's
5.
We got the Serious Sam collection, we got Spitlings, we know how much we love that over on our channel. And we got Stacks on Stacks, which we do appreciate because they share the SOS title with us as well.
SOS.
Yeah.
A lot of people called Stacks as well. A lot of people expected Stacks because of that April 1st drop, the due date. I was rather surprised by that one. Because
I was, with it being a new game.
Being a brand new title, there must have been a business deal behind the scenes, because otherwise, unless they're looking just for exposure, that seems...
Google have funded probably the development of the next project or something.
Yeah, I think in that case, then, brilliant. That's a fantastic business deal behind the scenes. But if he's given up the game for free, I'd just be a little bit like...
Yeah, it makes it curious as to why Spitlings wasn't the free game for last month.
Because I don't know. It depends on the deal.
They've done this great marketing thing that they seem to be doing, where everyone now bought it 2 or 3 weeks ago, and at the turn of the month, now it's free.
Now I sort of see we've obviously had a lot of discussion with the dev team behind Spitlings at Massive as well, and they kept hinting, and Milan said this in the video that we played for him, which you can see on our YouTube channel. But he kept hinting that we've got things behind the scenes with Stadia that we're not allowed to talk about, and he did specifically say that. So I wonder whether it was this. I would assume so.
A lot of these deals with the games going pro, I think, are probably going to be bespoke. It might have been it's a Handy Games, the publisher. Spitlings might have went, no, we're not doing it month 1. We want to get the month 1 sales, and then month 2 we can.
Yeah, that's fine.
It might be something as simple as that.
Is this something to do with the catalogue again, just being not quite that large? The reality is, I have this not weird actually, I have this theory that if we just keep going at the rate we're going and these free pro games are going to come out, we could almost reach a point where when they finally tell us what the hell is happening with the base, nearly every game that's out on Stadia could be free in the library. And I think that would, if Google did want to take that as an opportunity to tip towards this Netflix-style subscription model,
Ooh.
I'm put tinfoil hat time.
Conspiracy time.
if they're behind the scenes, and like you said, Richie, they're negotiating deals with teams, whether it's independent teams, but the AAA titles have came out thick and fast. We've expected and we've got it month on month. We've got every Tomb Raider game practically. We've got Grid games that are clocking up in at £50, $60 every single month. Metro, everything like that. Division price downs, which we'll talk about shortly. It's almost at a point where there isn't anything really left in the catalogue that's worthy of not just flipping to that model. And I have this like little inkling in the back of my mind that they say, right, base, we heard what the community said, we've heard what the public news publications have said. You know what? Everyone thinks it's the Netflix of games. Fuck it, it is. There you go. It's $9.99 a month. Everyone who had Pro, you've already got every good game anyway.
I don't think $9.99 a month could sustain that sort of model, because what you're doing then is you're losing future sales of all these publishers.
Are we going back to speculation prior to when Stadia launched now? Are we going back to this?
Yeah,
$12.99, $14.99 a month.
I can't see it happening. There's too many moving things, because it's the relationship with third-party publishers. Game Pass is mainly Microsoft published titles, and they have plenty that they've been building up over a long time.
Money talks.
Yeah,
I don't know. I just think that's what I think when they initially announced Stadia. That was still this is what it could be.
Maybe it's a second tier beyond the Pro that it's £20 a month, but you get everything.
Yeah. I just think when you're talking about sustainability, it goes back to, we've said, I think all three of us on previous episodes, no one really gives a shit about 4K 60 frames per second necessarily. And the wider audience, their Play Anywhere massive market of billions and billions of it around the globe, when you're trying to sell them, what are you getting for your 10, 12 odd pound dollars a month?
I think at the moment what they're trying to do is, because if you notice every time they launch the new Pro games, they're listing the old ones as well. They're trying to show you what you could have had.
Well, yeah, which is why it's almost at the tipping point where there's that many free ones gone. Yeah. If they keep giving us more and more every month, there's not much left in the tank to give out. Like at this point, if I asked you, what are we going to get for our May free games?
But they are releasing games very quickly, and they're not afraid of releasing them straight into a Pro deal, like stacks.
On stacks.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm just thinking that for me, it's a selling point for when people are thinking dropping down the base. Well, have you seen how many games you've got already from Pro? If you didn't pay that it's worth that £10 a month to get them games. Yeah. And the fact that they're throwing some of the best games arguably on the system right now in there.
Yeah,
and
they have now conditioned us to 2 to 3 games per month. So we're invested because we know that's what we're going to expect every month too now.
Yeah, it's like, why would you drop your subscription when I'm going to get another 3 games?
It's probably it's already paying for itself. I know people sit there and say like, oh yeah, but the games are only X amount on other systems, but that's fine.
Things fluctuate. We've already talked about how the fluctuation between the services. But
so what do we think overall then, gents, in terms of these 3 games? We happy with them?
Yeah, I was going to say, let's not take away from the games. I mean, we've had a phenomenal time with Spitlings. We obviously have our Spitling Spectacular show, which comes out twice a week. We had this Friday's
every 2 weeks, not twice a week.
What did I say?
You said twice a week. Every 2 weeks. Every other Friday.
Twice a week. It's even more. Ramp up production. Get to work, gentlemen.
You can tell he's been stuck at home for too long.
It's going crazy. But yes, Spitling Spectacular twice a month. Last Friday's episode was with Duncan from 1-2 Escape. If you've not been able to check that out yet, the legendary troll phone himself, head over, check it out. We had a great laugh. We played some varieties of levels. It was great chance. Another good laugh. And again, it's one of those games that we keep jumping back into for the content, but every time we do, we have a hell of a time.
Yes,
such a good game. And how
much is Spitlings at the moment?
Free. I mean, 2 days.
If you were to
Can
buy
fire
it right
people.
now,
It was $12.99, wasn't it? Prior to
I believe
so
yeah.
a $12.99 game that's about a month or two old. Yeah, you're getting it for a tenner.
Yeah,
Plus the other games.
I'm really excited for Massive on that as well. I think it's brilliant because, like I've said before, I've been very vocal in the community of saying that the community, the Stadia community as a whole, needs to get involved in it and just see how much fun it can actually be.
Yeah.
In terms of stacks on stacks on stacks on stacks on stacks, we looked at that game on stacks. We looked at that game back when it was announced, and it didn't really tickle any of our fancy, I don't think, other than it just looked like a whimsical stacking game. Like the name, to their credit, is very very on point of what it looks like you have to do in that game. Now it's free. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a go. So
of course, it could be another Spitlings. It could be one of them games that you jump into and go, actually, this is really, really fun.
Yeah, could be.
100%. And the Serious Sam collection, I'll be honest, I was never going to put my own money down for. And never heard of it prior.
I already have it on Steam and I haven't played it there either.
Yeah. Tom, I think you're the only one of us who has actually played it before.
Yeah, I've played it a long time ago, not the remastered.
When.
Not really interested still, to be honest with you. I'll pick it up, may jump into it for a bit of multiplayer craziness, but I probably won't play the story again.
Yeah, and Serious Sam collection as well is about £30, $40 currently on the store.
I think we speculated before that they, if you look at the games individually, it can be even more expensive than that.
Yeah,
which is always a bit.
It's a weird thing now that they've announced their free games. Do you think there should be some kind of disclaimer pops up in the online store? Like if I wanted to buy Serious Sam right now, you grab your phone, you go to the Stadia store. You find it, and I tap it to buy £30.
Yeah, you could,
and there's nothing. There's literally nothing there.
It'd be nice. It'd be a nice thing.
2 days, it's free.
Yeah, it'd be a nice thing to do, but then you can make the same argument about Sony and Microsoft.
Oh yeah, it
just comes down to being a smart consumer a bit. To be honest, they have no reason to do this, and it would be unfair to level criticism for them not doing it when the others aren't either.
Yeah, I'd just love to see the way the needle would go between purchases and refunds as soon as because it must happen every month when people go, I've only played however long, I've only had it 3, 4, 5 days.
Yeah.
Back to day one when the Tomb Raider debacle all kicked off. It's just going to happen, and I think back to the portfolio not being as large as the competition, it gets lost in amongst the thousands and thousands of games usually.
I think they still are doing the Tomb Raider style refunds. If you have bought the game and you're still within the entitlement, you do get your refund, and then you can redeem it for free.
Yeah, just to clarify again, that's still less than 2 hours played and within 14 days of purchase. That's 4 days.
Yes,
one to watch out for. But other than that, it's 3 games, all starting with an S. Why could that be?
Serious Sam, Spitling, Stacks on Stacks, official Sounds of Stadia package. No, Stadia.
And Google are owned by Alphabet.
I think you're looking way too much.
I know. I'm just.
So next week we should expect letter T, the division, the crew.
This episode of Sounds of Stadia S was brought to you by the letter S. Anyway, moving on. Speaking of letters and lost words, Tom.
Ooh, nice.
You've jumped in and played the lovely little indie darling that came out this week. Do you want to give us a rundown of your thoughts?
Yeah,
spoiler
absolutely.
free, of course.
Yeah, definitely. Lost Words Beyond the Page, now available on Stadia, £11.99. It's a pretty much a steal. It's a linear game, very easy to play, very easy platformer to pick up on. It's very much targeted to a younger audience, I would say. But for people who like really immersive stories, the whole story is told from the perspective of a young girl. She's writing a fantasy story of which you play through, but she links her real life experiences of what's going on as she's noting it down in her journal. It ties in very nicely to the actual fantasy story she's writing. It's full of feels. So if you're an emotionally unstable person like I can be sometimes, it's going to hit you right in the heart. I'm already at a point in the game where I was just overwhelmed by I can't believe some of the things that are happening, but it's so beautifully driven. The narrative is fantastic. The artwork is incredible, and the soundtrack to boot is I won't go as far as calling it a masterpiece, but it's a beautiful game, and I would strongly recommend for that price that people do check it out.
I will be buying it as soon as I get paid, which is on Tuesday. So
Good.
When you get your free games.
you get my
As
free
well.
games. I'm going to buy Doom. I'm going to buy Lost Words. The games I've been wanting to. I'm very, very jealous of Tom right now, who has them.
One thing I would
playing
throw
around.
out there as well is the publishers behind this over at Modus Games. If you follow them over on Twitter, at the moment they are running intermittent competitions as well of giving out copies of the game on Stadia 2. So if you are thinking about it but can't quite front the cash at the moment, then perhaps try to get involved in that. So reach out to Modus Games on Twitter or follow Lost Words Beyond the Page on Twitter as well. And I'm sure you might have an opportunity to do that there. But if you can afford it, I would strongly suggest that you do try it out. It is, as I say, it's a beautiful game in all aspects, and it's one that I'm thoroughly enjoying playing through at the moment.
And if you don't have the money, just wait till May when it'll be your free game.
Don't.
No, just buy the game. It's not that expensive.
Of course, I'm only playing. Yeah, definitely. I'm Tom. I think your description of it gave me a lot of Concrete Genie vibes, which I mentioned from last year, the little PlayStation exclusive, which is very very underrated. It seems very similar in terms of the gameplay, the style, the emotional tones it's playing on, and I think I'll be buying that also, Richie, when I get paid at the end of the month.
It's all about childhood experiences, and I'm seeing a lot of these titles are popping up on Stadia. Guilt is, the theme that runs behind Guilt is all about bullying. So you gents will soon find that out if you've not actually seen that already. But we're seeing a lot of these like childhood emotions that are coming through and experiences of childhood in these games. But love it. I'm going to carry on playing with it. It's definitely one that I'd strongly suggest you try it out.
So you've not completed it yet?
No, I'm only a couple of hours into it so far.
Right. Okie dokie.
All right.
Interesting stuff.
To see how long it is.
I think it's one that's been on a lot of people's radars, and I think since this came out, I've seen tons of people across Twitter and Facebook and such who've really, really gushed over it. So it's something good. Other stories that we got this week, we got the Crew 2 from Ubisoft, the amazing Stadia supporters over there, dropped that onto our network. What is quite good is they didn't mess up with the pro prices that came in this time round. So as we know, when Division 2 came out, we had the launch of the Division 2, full price. Nobody was happy with the price. Less than a few hours later, it got a massive pro cut. People who bought the game for full price weren't best pleased. Thankfully, they got the shit together this time round. The Crew 2 dropped with pro prices toe and toe. So we've got the standard edition was £40, dropped down to £12. The deluxe edition was £48, dropped down to £14.40, and the gold edition was £72.99, dropped down to £21.99. Obviously, your respective monetary amounts where you may reside. But other than that, gentlemen, they managed to get it. Tom, you and me picked it up for £12.
Yep.
Played a little bit of it.
Played a little bit of it, and I'm going to be honest with everybody out in their Stadia community. I refunded it. It wasn't for me. I've already got Grid. I don't need another racer to fill that spot at the moment. It is a lot more of an arcadey style racer, and I found the Inception style world folding to be an interesting mechanic. But ultimately for me, I splashed out for the gold edition, and then I just thought it's not something I'm going to sink a lot of time into. So if you are a fan of arcade racers, then I'm sure this is a brilliant title and a brilliant steal at those prices for you there. But for me personally, it doesn't quite fit the bill for me, so I've refunded it.
Same. Bought it, played it, played the opening bit, played about an hour or so of it, and it didn't grab me. Like you said, Tom, we have Grid already. Graphically, didn't look any better than Grid.
Arguably, possibly worse.
Controls didn't feel like I mentioned pre-show. It seems to be lost somewhere between arcadey and simulation, and it just can't settle on one or the other.
The physics didn't feel right for me as well. I don't know about you, but I crashed the plane into a building, and I had a very weird interaction with the building where the plane just sort of hit the building and just went down.
Yes. It doesn't explode or cripple or anything.
Yeah, you just hit it and straight.
Yeah, it's like a Tom and Jerry cartoon cat against a window and then a slow slide down the window.
And I know that's not what these games are all about, but it just doesn't feel right. So for me, it's it's worth it if you enjoy arcade races, like I said, but it's just not for us.
And that's the thing to remember is games and all types of games aren't for everyone. But the great thing with the refund policy is you can jump in, test it out, and if it doesn't quite strike the chord, you can refund it and you can go back on it as well.
Yeah, I just took one look and went, it's not for me, and just give it a pass.
Yeah. I think with the Pro deal enticed me to it. To be honest, if I wouldn't have bought it at the price that it launched, the full cost anyway, but dropping down to £12, I was like, yeah, hey, it's AAA.
It's a bit
Ubisoft title.
Grid for me. It's like I'm not into races. If it's a pro game, that's when I'll give it its chance.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't really enjoy races, so
yeah,
that's fair.
So Richie, then you're gonna love this. Next story is we've got obviously MotoGP is coming soon, and the Google Stadia team have jumped onto their community blog. They've also told us we've got another game incoming, which is Monster Jam Steel Titans. So very, very in line with our energy drink Supercross naming conventions.
We've now got Jam.
We've got that, yeah. So I've got Monster Jam Steel Titans, which looks like a crazy ass monster truck game with some kind of Mad Max element.
If this is the title that's a little bit more like my Destruction Derby style, like crash the shit out of things, blow people up, run things over and stuff like that, then I'll probably try it out. But if it's...
let's see.
Yeah.
I was going to say the rundown of it then, Tom, just to entice you even more, is Monster Jam Steel Titans. Real trucks, real action, Monster Jam. Monster Jam Steel Titans delivers the complete Monster Jam experience for everyone to enjoy. All the trucks, stunts, stadiums, racing, and massive air in one game. Play in various game modes, including stadium, outdoor racing, various stunt challenges, and destruction modes. How does that sound to you?
I'm looking at the trailer, and it's one of them. It looks like actually could be quite fun. That it doesn't take itself too seriously. I just saw like a skull-shaped car go up a ramp and just collect some like blimp icons. I'm guessing they get more air.
Well, that's the kind of thing I want to see a bit more of. Just like a little bit less realism and a bit more stupidity, a bit more creativity.
Yeah. It's got an element
more
of
destruction
trials in there. Yeah, it's definitely got a bit of an element of trials in there in terms of its tone, by the looks of it. Oh, it's in actual full 3D rather than 2D.
Yeah.
Okay.
Coming from THQ Nordic as well.
Ah.
There you go. They've got to get them crazy IPs. I don't know where they've acquired this from, but it's definitely one of those in their arsenal.
Yeah.
But yeah, so either of those, Richie. Just I know you're obviously a big fan of racing games.
MotoGP, I have zero interest in, and to be honest, even if it was a pro game, I don't think I'd give it more than an hour. Monster Jam, it could be a bit of fun if it's got like some co-op stuff. Because like Trials, I wasn't that interested in that, but when we've played together, we've had a good time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we certainly have. And if you've not checked it out, still, we have a video over on our YouTube channel where me, Richie, and Tom may or may not be drunk, but also play Trials. If you've not seen the outcome, Richie may on it have some kind of tattoo drew on his arm.
And Chris had a full-on breakdown. Because
yes, I forgot about that. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh, I didn't.
Head over, check that out as well. So some other smaller stories that we had. Tom, I think you may have dropped this one into the doc as well. One of the interviews that came out, I think it was the Bungie interview transferring Stadia across for Destiny. I think it basically came out and said it's an amazing solution for playtesting during lockdown.
Yeah,
the fluctuation.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely one of these things that should be taken to heart in the current climate at the moment as well. But there's a lot of discussion again within the community that we do have to be aware. A lot of people are saying as well, now's the time to launch base. Now's the time to launch base. It probably isn't, because you're probably going to get criticized if Google, I mean, it's sort of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. Like, it's all good that we're in the right position for people to be able to play test things during lockdown at the moment, using the platform. It's perfect for it. But it shouldn't be taken for granted, in my own personal opinion. I don't know. Thoughts?
With the launch of base, I think it potentially would have been the perfect time if they previously announced that it was coming.
Yes.
In April. That's what my prediction was, and could still be true. But I think it's probably slipped at this point.
So
Google,
what you're implying...
They like to launch things late.
So you're implying that Google started this whole pandemic then to try to...
Yes, Google started the pandemic.
No, they didn't.
We don't
we do not whatsoever.
What I'm saying is, if they a couple of months back they went, right, Stadia base will come in in April the 1st, if they had already made that announcement, then it would have been absolutely fine in terms of how they're perceived to do it. But now if they came out like last week and went, oh, as like Google like to do, and wait till the last minute before they actually tell you a date and go, oh, by the way, it's coming soon, it's now.
Yeah.
That looks a bit not great.
I think from a technical standpoint, it's probably for the better, because I've seen a lot of stories this last week about issues on the network for strain. I know a lot of the streaming companies have reduced their bandwidth size for things like quality definition and such. I think Netflix have done it. I know, was it PlayStation? So I saw somewhere, all the big companies have basically been urged to reduce their bandwidth just to help with the massive overload on the internet at the moment, because everyone's on lockdown, everyone's streaming, casting.
It's a real stress test of everything we've got available to us.
Yeah,
it really
is. The biggest
is.
beta test ever.
If the internet went down.
People working from home, so it's not just us podcasters are using things like Discord to talk to each other. It's companies trying to operate as close to normal as possible.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It really is. And,
well, I see the benefits in companies wanting to take advantage of Stadia as a service, because they obviously can't do the testing of their own products in-house, in office at the moment. But to be able to put it over the digital platform, we talked about the global beta test network prior to this, with talk of Uplay Plus coming to Stadia and the beta testing for that. That's sort of ideal for this scenario right here. So I do see the reason why people are talking about this in particular, but I don't really think it has much more weighting to it other than it's just people commenting on the current global situation.
Yeah, when it comes to playtesting in general, I think it's one of them things where no matter how good your technology gets in terms of machine learning and artificial intelligence, there's some things that you just can't replace a human for, and that's basically just how fun is it? Because fun is so subjective, a machine can't tell you that.
Yeah.
They can tell you, we think humans might enjoy this, but at some point you need to put it in the hands of humans, and this is where I think the article is coming from, is like, you need to get this in the hands of people, but how do you do that without actually putting it in the hands of people?
Yeah. It's interesting. Again, it's stuff that I think it's going to change over time. AI-driven stuff is going to be playing a massive part going forward. We've discussed it in previous episodes, how it can really bring the benefits to open-world games and just dialogue choices. And I did watch one of the pieces from GDC, which was showcasing AI coming up with their actual own dialogue track, and the audio sounded like two humans just having a conversation. Don't know if you guys picked up, but I think it was a dad talking to his daughter or his son. And they were having an argument about stuff, and he was saying, "Oh, when you get older, you'll understand." And it was all digital. There was no voice actors. They just put the script in, they wrote it out, put it into their software program, and it read it back, and it sounded so genuine. The tone level was all there, and it was almost scary, especially if you're a voice actor out there.
It's machine learning. It's probably started off with a very robotic voice and based on reactions of people until it finally got tuned into. It sounds like a real person.
Yeah, and it was a lot. It didn't sound anywhere near robotic as Siri or Google.
Skynet.
Well, that's how it sounds.
It's the future.
It's the future. Speaking of the future, this podcast is nearly over, so we might as well just quickly wrap up with two short stories. We had the party size on the Google Stadia voice chat, I believe, was updated. Was it voice chat, or was it the actual
party size for people to be able to collectively join? I think it includes voice chat.
Yeah.
As part of it.
Up to 10. That was just something Stadia Source picked up.
Yeah, it was a stealth update. I think the guys of Stadia Source were literally just on it and noticed that the tooltip had changed from 5 to 10.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nice, quick and easy one. So join in with all your friends out, make a bigger party of it all. Tom, final one you dropped in there was the Orcs Must Die 3 interview. You said there was some really interesting points came out of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important to check out. There's an article that's come out in Game Rant today of an interview with Robot Entertainment and one of the lead producers over at Orcs Must Die 3. Coming to Stadia soon, we don't know when, but in it they talk about the benefits of the platform itself and why they decided to publish specifically for Stadia. Bearing in mind that before this, there was no plan to create Orcs Must Die 3. They'd done 2 and they were planning on moving on. But with the the technology and the way that Google pitched it to them when they first approached them, they decided actually this would be really beneficial. We can increase the number of enemies tenfold. We can increase the number of player traps and obstacles that they can set on a map tenfold. And we can see absolutely zero impact performance whatsoever. And I think, again, that lends itself very much to one of the benefits of the platform that we've not yet really seen taken advantage of. So I think it's a really interesting article.
Yeah, it sounds like the developers are probably kind of done with the franchise, felt they could do what they could do with it. And then someone's went, here's some new tech. And they went, oh, actually, there's more we can do here.
But that's what a lot of great minds do usually. I mean, look at look at the likes of James Cameron as well. Like he waits until technology hits a certain point before he can create the project that he's thought of ages ago. That's the case as it was with Avatar. Now, I mean, I'm not comparing Avatar and Orcs Must Die here, but you know,
yes, you are.
I mean, I am. You can't. But they've gotten to a point where they have, exactly as you've said, they've thought, right, well, there's not much more we can do with it. Fair enough. And then people have gone, actually, here you go. Yeah. So,
you know what? Similar to that is actually Bethesda been saying about Elder Scrolls 6. The reason they haven't done it yet is because they're waiting for the technology to catch up with what they want to do.
Yeah. It's all about this creative vision and what they want to do with it.
Oh,
they are artists.
Be awesome.
Yeah. Developers and games designers, they are artists in their own right.
Yeah.
Oh, very much so. I'm a big believer that gaming is probably the best form of art there is, because it's not only you immersed in it, but it can tell a story, it can showcase action, it can do all these things.
It's multimedia.
Yeah, it takes all the best bits from all media. You've got like the music industry, the video industry. It brings that all together, telling a story, but you're immersed in it because you're in control more so than you would have been just sat watching a flat screen. I'm a big believer in that, and I think it's starting to now get its recognition in the wider industry as well. If we look at like the BAFTA awards, do the whole gaming segment and such now.
Even in the education space, things like Minecraft have always doing things in the educational space. Assassin's Creed having literally tours of ancient Rome and things of that nature.
Yeah, the Assassin's Creed Origins part was phenomenal with that. Yeah, really enjoyed that. Just going back and relearning stuff that I'd seen in primary school.
How cool would it be a teacher and go, okay, today, kids, we're playing Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
And actually, I've had a lesson plan, and with Ofsted come go, yep, that's cool.
And that's a topic for another time. I love to talk about this stuff.
Yeah, but obviously, Tom, you're a teacher.
Podcast for that one.
But all that in hindsight as well, the power of Stadia would mean that you could essentially get a school license for Stadia and log all of your class into that without the requirement of 20 PlayStations rigged up in the classroom, which isn't going to happen. You give them 20 logins in a shitty old school computer, they can go on and do it with a mouse and keyboard. So while they're playing, instead of playing Solitaire Minesweeper, they can jump into Assassin's Creed Origins and go through the entire Egyptian history in an immersive world, which, it's huge, and you couldn't do that on anywhere else.
I mean, I don't want to get too off topic with it, but just take a history lesson, for example. You take it ancient Egypt, right? You say to them, right, here are a list of questions you must answer by the end of this lesson. Here is how you are going to learn it. Go. That's it.
I'd love it.
Yeah,
I'd love it.
Absolutely. This is exactly what we need. But as I say, I digress. We'll talk about that another time, because I think that would be brilliant for another little snippet episode we could do at some point, because I could talk about that for hours.
Yeah, so we do have some ideas actually, so that brings a wrap on, but we have got some ideas going forward with our content that we've been putting out. You may have seen a lot of it coming out this week actually. We've had a very, very busy week. It's not like we've been able to leave the home or anything.
I got to work 4 days.
Well, there you go. It's your fault, Richie. But in terms of the content we've put out, we had the episode 9 of Tomb Raider Let's Play went live on Saturday. It's really starting to heat up now. If you've not checked it out already so far, we get into some crazy shit this week. Does Tom kill a crab?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
You remember Tom, you murderer. He was our friend, Thomas.
He hates crustaceans, Tom does.
In all seriousness, great Let's Play. We did tweak the camera, so it's better quality. We recorded it using the Elgato software, so it was a little bit sharper. So go check that out. It's up the game a little bit. We also had the GDC watch along, which we dropped on Monday, Tuesday. All these days just blurring at one now. Spitling Spectacular with Duncan, we've already mentioned that. That's now available too. We had a new mini-series drop, which was our From Purchase to Play series, showcasing The Crew 2, just showing how quick you can go from buying the game to playing the game on your device in under 2 minutes, which is just what we wanted to bring to you as an audience to really drive home the message of how quick Stadia is, because jumping back to all the platforms, I don't know about you two, but for me, it's just so painful. As I said, I went back to Uncharted, tried to download the free PlayStation Plus version I had, 40 gig download. How long do you think I had to wait?
An hour?
9 hours.
Wow.
It was the recommended download. So what I did is I cancelled that, went upstairs, got my collector's edition disc out, put that in instead, reduced it right down to like 20 minutes.
Were you just downloading it to be lazy?
I couldn't be bothered to go upstairs. But this is it, Richie. Stadia's made me lazy. I'm used to just click and play and I'm away. So just goes to prove you.
Yeah, we live for the, this sort of like convenience lifestyle. So when people finally see just how convenient Stadia is, that's the selling point. That is one of the biggest selling points.
It goes back to me playing this morning while I was having my breakfast, Division 2 on my new phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the future. And if you're not with us yet, you'll be with us soon. But speaking of things that we want to do, we wanted to bring you more content. So we've been doing that over the course of the week. We've been spitballing ideas, but we really want you to reach out as well. And some of our Patreon people have wrote to us with some great suggestions. I just wanted to highlight one we got this week. It's here somewhere in the doc from Ashley. So she wrote in from our Patreon channel. Channel, don't know what you call it. So that's, if you search on Stadia, that's just Ashley. She's got that gamer tag. And she asks, or she says, I should mention, loving the podcast, you're absolutely killing it. As a Stadia newbie and a casual gamer, so she picked up the Premier Edition this last week whilst in isolation. What games would you recommend I try next? I'm currently playing SteamWorld Dig 2, absolutely loving it, but I've almost finished it. So just to wrap up the show, gentlemen, what would you recommend Ashley checks out next?
For a casual gamer, you definitely need to go into a game like The Division with all its million systems.
Wow. Deep end.
No, I'm not sure. Maybe something like an Assassin's Creed might be okay. It's not overly complex.
It's not overly complex, actually. I found it quite easy to get into. I would probably say if you're enjoying SteamWorld Dig 2, I'm assuming...
SteamWorld Dig 1?
Yeah, I would. That's exactly where I was going to go. I'd say stick with the SteamWorld games, maybe then branch out and have a look at something like Lost Words. Wait till you get your free games next month as well, and give those a shot. Start with Spitling, start with a little bit of stacks on stacks. Just have a bit of fun with it.
Yeah, but, just test the waters with what's available to you, and then if something you do like, just search it out.
And just rely on the pro deals that we keep bringing up every single week when they go live.
Yeah, it seems to be.
In fact, if you haven't already played it as well, I'd probably really recommend Guild. It's a short game, but you can take your time with it. Definitely take your time with it.
Yeah, very much so. But we just wanted to highlight that. So remember, for us, any topics or suggestions, by all means, you can write into us over on patreon.com/Sounds of Stadia. If you are keen on watching our faces, do more stuff video-wise, check us out over on youtube.com/Sounds of Stadia. And if you want to keep in the loop with all our news and when our podcast and publications go live, check us out on twitter.com/gentlemen.
Sounds of Stadia.
Yeah. SOS on SOS. No, not quite. No, just
I don't know what you said.
Woo!
It's all the S's. I'm telling you. I told you this episode was brought to you by the letter S.
Yeah.
But that brings us. Yeah. But that brings us a wrap on episode 27 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. We hope you have enjoyed the show itself, and if you've got any hints or suggestions for us, throw them along our way. We really do appreciate your feedback and the time and support, especially for this in video form, because last week I think our viewership clocked up about probably 3 times more than we're familiar with. So massive appreciation for that.
Thank you so much.
Big thank you. And thanks for tuning in this week. We'll see you soon. My name's been Chris.
I've been Tom.
I've been Richie.
We've been Sounds of Stadia, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
Bye.